The House will come to order. Members, please register. Vote from your desk. Have all members registered? Members, we have a quorum. The House and Gallery will please rise for the invocation, which will be offered by the Honorable Will Metcalf of Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members in the audience, if you're yes in the audience, if you'll please bow your head with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We pray, Lord, for your grace and mercies, and that you be with our families while we are away. Give us the guidance to do your will for the great state of Texas. Amen.
Amen. The chair recognizes Honorable Dr. Lalani of Fort Bend County to lead us in the pledges of allegiance to the United States and Texas flags.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members, guests in the gallery, and all those connected online. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance for the greatest country and then the great state.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Texas. Thank you.
The chair will now hear excuses for absent members. Please excuse Mr. Herrero for today and tomorrow because of important business in the district on a motion of Mr. Martinez. Fisher, is there any objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, I have a messenger from the Senate at the door of the House.
Admit the messenger.
Mr. Speaker, I'm directed by the Senate to inform the House that the Senate has taken the following action. The Senate has passed the following measures. HB 9, Ashby, sponsored by Huffman, relating to the development and funding of broadband and telecommunication services. HB 54, Thompson, sponsored by Zaffarini, relating to the personal needs allowance for certain Medicaid recipients who are residents of long-term care facilities. Committee substitute. HB 63, Swanson, sponsored by Sparks, relating to reports of child abuse or neglect and certain preliminary investigations of those reports. HB 246, Swanson, sponsored by Bettencourt, relating to establishing a pilot program for recording ballot counting activity. HB 387, Bell, sponsored by King, relating to the Texas State Guard Uniform and Insignia Fund. HB 627, Harris, sponsored by Nichols, relating to the issuance of specialty license plates to the surviving spouse of a posthumous recipient of certain awards. HB 628, Harris, sponsored by Nichols, relating to an issuance of specialty license plates to honor fallen law enforcement officers.
Thank you. The following announcements, the clerk will read the announcements.
The Committee on Pensions, Investments, and Financial Services will meet today upon first adjournment in Room 1W14 Ag Museum in a formal meeting to consider pending referred and committee business. The Committee on House Administration will meet today upon first adjournment in Room 2W6 Speaker's Committee Room in a formal meeting to consider pending referred and committee business.
Chair recognizes Mr. Cook for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House grant permission for the Commission on Criminal Jurisprudence to meet while the House is in session today at 9:15 a.m. in Room 1W14 Agricultural Museum to consider pending referred and committee business.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. The following announcement, the clerk will read the announcement.
The Committee on Criminal Jurisprudence will meet today at 9:15 a.m. in Room 1W14 Agricultural Museum in a formal meeting to consider pending referred and committee business.
Mr. D'Orazio, would you come to the front, please? The chair is pleased to recognize Dr. Christine Camacho from San Antonio as our Doctor of the Day. Lulu's here. Ms. Cole, Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns is not with us. Kara, Ms. Flores. You got bad. Please excuse Mr. Tenderholt because of illness on a motion of Mr. Harrison. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. The chair recognizes Ms. Flores for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to suspend all necessary rules to bring up H.R. 1475.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? The rules are suspended. The following resolution, the clerk will read the resolution.
H.R. 1738 by Flores, congratulating Noel Moctezuma Menendez of Del Valle High School on his acceptance into Harvard University with a full scholarship.
Chair recognizes Ms. Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'd like to recognize a young man from my district, Noel Moctezuma Mendez, who is in the gallery today. Noel has just begun his journey, but he is already accumulating accolades most of us would envy. He is graduating next Thursday from Del Valley High School, where he serves as Student Council President, participates in debate, and the National Honor Society. He even spends time helping the Red Cross. But we are here to celebrate Noel's work that has set him up for the next step. He has been accepted to Harvard University with a full scholarship. Noel has great interest in pursuing computer sciences and has already received additional scholarships from the likes of Dell and Amazon. Noel, it is because of stories like yours that I joined the IT caucus and work to make sure students are prepared for the jobs of the future. While Noel has the skills and dedication to do great things, he has had the tremendous support along the way. With him today in the gallery are his mother, Maria Zapata, his sisters, Vanessa and Liliana Mendez, and his girlfriend, Mary Jane Zuniga, and a good friend, Rebecca Gahak. Also here are some of the Del Valley ISD leadership, Dr. Annette Tilley, Del Valley ISD Superintendent, Candace Smith, Del Valley High School Principal. Noel, please know your story is inspiring to so many. Please don't stop chasing your dreams. We're all excited to see what you do next. We wish you the best and at that small university in Boston, and look forward to following your story. Mr. Speaker, I move adoption.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Motion is adopted. The chair recognizes Ms. Morales Shaw for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules to take up and consider H.R. 2029, honoring Mr. Johnny Mata for his many years of service.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The rules are suspended. The following resolution, the clerk will read the resolution.
H.R. 2029 by Morales Shaw, honoring Johnny Mata for his many years of service to the Houston community.
Chair recognizes Ms. Morales Shaw.
Members, whereas Johnny Mata, he's here with us today in the gallery standing up, and it's my honor to honor him. Johnny Mata has dedicated his life to standing up for civil rights for all members of society. The son of a Mexican-American immigrants, Mr. Mata was raised by his father in Houston's 2nd Ward after his mother passed away. He held various jobs as a youth, and after serving in the U.S. Army, he took a job that involved conducting surveys to help residents of disadvantaged neighborhoods to find employment. The job served as his introduction to community work, and he ultimately spent more than 3 decades as a staff member with the Gulf Coast Community Services Association. He also joined the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, and became involved in civil rights issues. Over the years, Mr. Mata has sought to focus attention on civil rights violations, and he has continued his involvement with LULAC for some 40 years. And during this time, he has fought for and represented many of the community members in cases that were unjust to help them get justice. And in LULAC, he served as the organization's state director and held several local positions. He currently leads the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice, and he worked with lawmakers in the past to pass HB 2150. That was during the 84th Texas Legislature in 2015, and that helped reform the process of selecting fairly and justly grand jurors. Johnny Mata has made a profound impact through his decade lifelong commitment and engagement in the struggle for equal justice, and he is indeed deserving of recognition for all that he has done for the people of Houston and beyond. So please, members, join me and put your hands together for Mr. Johnny Mata and all the work he's done for Houstonians.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is adopted. The chair recognizes Ms. Morales Shaw for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules to take up and consider H.R. 1728, commending Linda Morales for her decades of work on behalf of labor unions.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The rules are suspended. The following resolution, the clerk will read the resolution.
H.R. 1728 by Morales Shaw, commending Linda Morales for her decades of work on behalf of labor unions.
The chair recognizes Ms. Morales Shaw to explain the resolution.
Members, I hope you'll take a few minutes to recognize and appreciate my good friend Linda Morales, who's here today. She has distinguished herself through decades of commitment and work. Linda Morales has worked decades on behalf of labor unions across Texas and the United States. Since December 2014, Ms. Morales has served as the organizing coordinator for the Texas Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, which unites the power of 95 unions and 60,000 union members to advocate for working families in 13 Houston area counties. She's proven to be a dedicated champion for the organization's affiliated unions, and she has played an instrumental role in expanding the Federation's efforts and establishing coalitions to address workforce policy issues. Her many other responsibilities have included guiding training workshops, promoting leadership development, supporting electoral work, and recruiting members. Linda Morales is well known in our community in Houston and beyond for all of the leadership and work that she's done. She's previously served as a National American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, the Sheet Metal Workers International Union, AFL-CIO, as I mentioned, the Service Employees International Union Local 1, and she also led organizers for the California Nurses Association and National Nurses Organizing Committee. And Linda Morales has greatly benefited countless working men and women in these roles. It's hard to measure the full impact of all the work that she's done over the many years of her service. And beyond her work in these roles, she has done other very exemplary leadership roles, including helping young people get involved in the civil electoral process and training people to understand how to organize. So I want to thank her for her exceptional commitment and leadership, and it's a pleasure to honor her for her dedication. So members, please join me in honoring Linda Morales today. Thank you. Move adoption.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Resolution is adopted.
Members, we are ready to begin the consideration of the congratulatory calendar. Please take your seats or take your conversations outside the rail. The following congratulatory resolutions have been withdrawn or previously adopted. The clerk will read the list.
The following congratulatory resolutions have been previously adopted. H.R. 1556 by Davis.
The chair lays before the House the following congratulatory resolutions. The clerk will read the resolutions.
H.R. 1448 by Davis, Dr. Usama Rogers. H.R. 1452 by Guerra, Easter Seals. H.R. 1453 by Guerra, Food Bank. H.R. 1454 by Guerra, Dr. Dahlia Guerra. H.R. 1455 by Leah Wilson, Caitlin Pasirab. H.R. 1456 by Leah Wilson, Zach Shambun. H.R. 1457 by Leah Wilson, Andrew McKieran. H.R. 1458 by Leah Wilson, Nathan Como. H.R. 1459 by Leah Wilson, Susan LeBlanc. H.R. 1460 by Leah Wilson, Jaron Tankersley. H.R. 1461 by Leah Wilson, Saul Mendoza. H.R. 1464 by Stuckey, University of North Texas Polo. H.R. 1465 by Frazier, Sarah Thomas. H.R. 1466 by Frazier, City of Frisco. H.R. 1467 by Buckley, Abdul Subhani. H.R. 1468 by Buckley, Judge Rick Morris. H.R. 1469 by Buckley, Dr. Sharice Desiree Mobley. H.R. 1470 by Buckley, Sarah Cockerham Lynch. H.R. 1471 by Buckley, Dr. Mary Ellen Cavett. H.R. 1472 by Longoria, Cynthia Longoria. H.R. 1473 by Harrison, the Texas Theater. H.R. 1474 by Harris of Anderson, Corsicana ISD. H.R. 1476 by Raymond Razul Mia. H.R. 1477 by Campos, Lung Cancer Action Week. H.R. 1480 by Canales, Grupo Frontera. H.R. 1481 by Guerra, Alonzo Cantu. H.R. 1482 by Guerra, Julian Ramirez. H.R. 1483 by Guerra, Sofia Urcullo. H.R. 1484 by Guerra, Karina Lucio. H.R. 1485 by Guerra, Alejandro Talamontes Martinez. H.R. 1486 by Guerra, Stephanie Torello. H.R. 1489 by Davis, Karen McCormick Zachary. H.R. 1491 by Lozano, christening of the USS Kingsville. H.R. 1492 by Smithy, radio station K-Pan. H.R. 1493 by Guerra, Carissa Rodriguez. H.R. 1495 by Burns, Tarleton State Legislative Interns. H.R. 1496 by Davis, Jordan K. Spence. H.R. 1497 by Davis, Mark Harris. H.R. 1498 by Davis, Courtney A. Doucette. H.R. 1499 by Herrero, Fidela Ramirez Jimenez. H.R. 1504 by Herrero, Melissa Ann Pantoya. H.R. 1505 by Herrero, Suzanne K. Hareen. H.R. 1505 by Herrero, Judith Gonzalez Rodriguez. H.R. 1507 by Herrero, Veronica Brotherton. H.R. 1508 by Herrero, Christina Sandoval. H.R. 1509 by Herrero, Cynthia Cantu. H.R. 1510 by Herrero, Anita Hinojosa. H.R. 1511 by Herrero, Dolly Gonzalez Trolley. H.R. 1512 by Herrero, Brenda Marshall. H.R. 1513 by Herrero, Laura Gray. H.R. 1514 by Herrero, Dr. Candy Richardson Gutash. H.R. 1515 by Herrero, Leanne Libby. H.R. 1516 by Herrero, Dr. Cynthia Hernandez. H.R. 1517 by Herrero, Karen Griffith. H.R. 1518 by Herrero, Lori Jo Walker. H.R. 1519 by Herrero, Robin Darrington. H.R. 1522 by Herrero, Toloso Midway High School. H.R. 1523 by Guerra, Dr. Louis H. Zayas. H.R. 1525 by Harless, Ron Hickman. H.R. 1528 by Busey, Brian Christian. H.R. 1530 by Guerra, Everett Osborne. H.R. 1531 by Holland, Mayor Kevin Fowler. H.R. 1532 by Holland, National Charity League. H.R. 1533 by Holland, Roy's City Chamber. H.R. 1534 by Holland, Jackson Smith Najiba. H.R. 1535 by Flores, Ruben Esquivel. H.R. 1537 by Wu, Audrey Law. H.R. 1538 by Wu, Adrian Hernandez. H.R. 1539 by Wu, Robert Hoffman. H.R. 1540 by Wu, Milan Narayan. H.R. 1541 by Wu, Lillian Garvins. H.R. 1544 by Cunningham, Barrett Lee Rios. H.R. 1549 by Cassell, 2023 American Quarter Horse Youth World Cup. H.R. 1550 by Holland, Rockwall High School Boys Gymnastics Team. H.R. 1553 by Guerra, Megan Rojas. H.R. 1554 by Guerra, Far San Juan Alamo ISD. H.R. 1557 by Buckley, Deborah W. Siegman. H.R. 1560 by Guerra, Natalie Acosta. H.R. 1561 by Guerra, Sierra Vidarui. H.R. 1562 by Guerra, Victoria Valaquez. H.R. 1563 by Guerra, Rihanna Trevino. H.R. 1564 by Guerra, Tristan Solis. H.R. 1565 by Guerra, Danielle Salinas de Alba. H.R. 1566 by Guerra, Leonette Sainz. H.R. 1567 by Guerra, Alma Rodriguez. H.R. 1568 by Guerra, Christopher Razo. H.R. 1569 by Guerra, Irene Rivas. H.R. 1570 by Guerra, Jarrett Quesada. H.R. 1571 by Guerra, Muhammad Zabir Noorani. H.R. 1572 by Guerra, Austin Martinez. H.R. 1573 by Guerra, Emily Lara. H.R. 1574 by Guerra, Isabella Landeros. H.R. 1575 by Guerra, Angel Huerta Mora. H.R. 1576 by Guerra, Victoria Gutierrez. H.R. 1577 by Guerra, Alyssa Guerra. H.R. 1578 by Guerra, David Franco. H.R. 1579 by Guerra, Anela Gracia. H.R. 1580 by Guerra, Clara Elliott. H.R. 1581 by Guerra, Kaylee Chavez. H.R. 1582 by Guerra, Catherine Cadriel. H.R. 1583 by Guerra, Frida Beltran. H.R. 1584 by Guerra, Travis Bush. H.R. 1585 by Morrison, 100th anniversary of GSM. H.R. 1586 by Morrison, Hines Cemetery. H.R. 1587 by Reynolds, Texas Legislative Internship Program. H.R. 1588 by Cassell, Maximilian L. Cloberdans. H.R. 1591 by A. Johnson of Harris, Danielle King. H.R. 1592 by Click, School Nurse Day. H.R. 1593 by A. Johnson of Harris, James Campbell. H.R. 1594 by Herrero, Sarah Luis. H.R. 1595 by Deton, Captain Eric E. Arena Sr. H.R. 1596 by A. Johnson of Harris, Cyrus Hosseini. H.R. 1597 by A. Johnson of Harris, Caitlin Roy. H.R. 1598 by A. Johnson of Harris, Casey Middleton. H.R. 1599 by A. Johnson of Harris, Emma Claire White. H.R. 1601 by Cunningham, Levi, Christopher Sell. H.R. 1602 by Cassell, Keith Smith. H.R. 1604 by Lambert, UTSA Texas Day. H.R. 1605 by Temish, Meghna Kumar. H.R. 1606 by Temish, Dr. Talina Wright. H.R. 1608 by Turner, Hyder Garcia. H.R. 1609 by Turner Flight Company.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Members, please take your seats. We are ready to begin the consideration of the memorial calendar. The chair lays before the House the following memorial resolutions. The clerk will read the resolutions.
H.R. 1450 by Jones of Dallas, Wilfred Dean Anthony. H.R. 1451 by Jones of Dallas, Ola May Hunter. H.R. 1494 by Gerdes, William Albert Sweeney Sr. H.R. 1503 by Herrero, Simon Alexander Cleric. H.R. 1520 by Herrero, Carlos H. Pena Sr. H.R. 1521 by Herrero, Maria Lucia Mary Lou Rios Flores. H.R. 1524 by Bowers, David Leos. H.R. 1526 by Dutton, James Michael Chargewa. H.R. 1527 by Bernal, Jeffrey Wayne Davis, and Jacqueline Dane Davis. H.R. 1536 by Hefner, Mitchell A. McCormick. H.R. 1548 by Cassell, Rebecca Ann Elliott McKenzie. H.R. 1552 by Guerra, Chief Sean Michael Snyder. H.R. 1558 by Buckley, U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel James Edward Seigman. H.R. 1589 by Cassell, Jerry Don Spikes. H.R. 1590 by Dutton, Stephen Harold Murdoch. H.R. 1603 by Thompson Brazoria, Joe Vincent Saladino. H.R. 1607 by Turner, Philip Andrew Yarbrough.
All those in favor of the adoption of the resolutions, please rise. The resolutions are unanimously adopted.
The chair lays out the following previously adopted resolution. The clerk will read the caption.
H.R. 1207 by Jones of Harris, commending Parker J. Nickerson for his service as a legislative aide in the office of State Representative Jolanda Jones.
Chair recognizes Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. It is with great honor that I rise today to speak about someone who has made a significant impact in my office for the legislative process. I want to take a moment to recognize and honor Parker Nickerson. Parker, if you would, please stand up, for his exceptional service and dedication to as a legislative aide. I want you to know that Parker's from my hometown, Houston, Texas, but he's also a junior at the University of Texas. He's going to medical school. And I just want to express my sincere gratitude for Parker's tireless efforts in supporting and advocating for the people of Texas, especially when it comes to healthcare, public policy, and I eagerly look forward to witnessing his continued success and achievements in the future. Thank you, Parker. I really appreciated you in my office.
Members, we're ready to begin consideration of the local consent and resolutions calendar. If you have a bill on today's calendar, please be ready to explain your bill when it is reached on the calendar. The chair recognizes Mr. Basu to explain House Bill 3292.
Sweeney.
Members, you've heard the explanation of House Bill 3292. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out House Bill 3292. The clerk will read the bill.
HB 3292.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment of House Bill 3292. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The House Bill 3292 is passed to engrossment. Chair recognizes Mr. Shine to explain House Bill 5360.
Deer Creek Mud.
Members, you've heard the explanation of House Bill 5360. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out House Bill 5360. The clerk will read the bill.
HB 5360 by Shine, relating to the creation of...
Question occurs on passage to engrossment on House Bill 5360. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 5360 is passed to engrossment. Chair recognizes Ms. Morales of Maverick to explain House Bill 5400. Mr. Morales. Ms. Morales. Mr. Morales.
Oh, here's Morales. You know what you're doing on this.
Porter Presidio.
Members, you've heard the explanation of House Bill 5400. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out House Bill 5400. The clerk will read the bill.
HB 5400.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment. House Bill 5400. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 5400 is passed to engrossment. Chair recognizes Mr. Goldman to explain House Bill 5418. Members, you've heard the explanation of House Bill 5418. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out House Bill 5418. The clerk will read the bill.
HB 5418.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment. House Bill 5418. Is there objection? The chair hears none. House Bill 5418 is passed to engrossment. Members, the next few that are coming up are resolutions, and they will require a record vote. The chair recognizes Mr. Holland to explain HCR 34.
Bob Paulson.
Members, you've heard the explanation of HCR 34. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out HCR 34. The clerk will read the bill.
HCR 34 by Holland.
The question occurs on the adoption of HCR 34 this is a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Bell voting aye. Have all members voted? There being 143 ayes, 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. Chair recognizes Mr. Burns to explain HCR 110.
Thank you, Nate.
Members, you've heard the explanation of HCR 110. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out HCR 110. The clerk will read the bill.
HCR 110 by Burns.
The question occurs on the adoption of HCR 110. It's a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Bell voting aye. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? There being 140 ayes and 0 nays, HCR 110 is adopted. The chair recognizes Mr. Bell of Montgomery to explain HCR 112.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Texas Legislative Medal of Honor, U.S. Army Sergeant Major Jerry L. Bell.
Members, you've heard the explanation of HCR 112. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out HCR 112. The clerk will read the bill.
HCR 112 by Bell of Montgomery.
The question occurs on the adoption of HCR 112. This is a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Have all members voted? There being 143 ayes and 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. Okay. The chair recognizes Representative Gonzalez of El Paso to explain Senate Bill 37.
Hazing.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 37. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 37. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 37 by Zell.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment of Senate Bill 37. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 37 is passed to engrossment. The chair recognizes Mr. Smith to explain Senate Bill 52.
Hospital visitation.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 52. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 52. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 52.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment of passage to third reading of Senate Bill 52. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 52 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Manuel to explain Senate Bill 135.
Home studies with
Members,
Department
you've
of
heard the
Education.
explanation of Senate Bill 135. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 135. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 135 by West.
The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 135. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 135 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Guillen to explain Senate Bill 252.
Thank you, Mr.
Members,
Speaker.
you've heard the
Members.
explanation of Senate Bill 252. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 252. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 252.
The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 252. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 252 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Raymond to explain it. Senate Bill 280.
Military.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 280. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 280. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 280 was
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 280. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 280 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Kitzman to explain Senate Bill 317.
PUC.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 317. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 317. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 317.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 317. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 317 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Holland to explain Senate Bill 348.
Internet appraisal
Members, you've heard
district.
the explanation of Senate Bill 348. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 348. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 348 by Speaker.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 348. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 348 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Shine to explain Senate Bill 361.
Appraisal Review
Members,
Board.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 361. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 361. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 361.
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 361. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 361 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Goldman to explain Senate Bill 372.
Judicial opinion.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 372. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 372. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 372 by Huff.
The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 372. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 372 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Diallo to explain Senate Bill 374.
Blue warrants.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 374. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 374. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 374.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 374. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 374 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Hefner to explain Senate Bill 414.
Memorial Bridge.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 414. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 414. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 414.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 414. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 414 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Ms. Click to explain Senate Bill 485. Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 485. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 485. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 485.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 485. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 485 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Guillen to explain Senate Bill 496.
911.
Members, you've heard the
emergency
explanation
service.
of Senate Bill 496. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 496. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 496.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 496. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 496 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Ms. Noble to explain Senate Bill 526.
Educational contractors.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 526. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 526. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 526.
Question occurs on passage
Move
third
passage.
reading of Senate Bill 526. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 526 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Craddock to explain Senate Bill 539.
Move passage.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 539. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 539. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 539.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 539. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 539 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Ms. Isaac to explain Senate Bill 540.
Commercial
Members,
vehicle.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 540. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 540. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 540.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 540. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 540 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Harris to explain Senate Bill 646.
Lamar College.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 646. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 646. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 646.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 646. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 646 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Goldman to explain Senate Bill 658.
Attorney Accountants.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 658. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 658. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 658.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 658. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 658 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Wilson to explain Senate Bill 691.
Texas budget.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 691. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 691. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 691.
The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 691. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 691 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Ms. Click to explain Senate Bill 739. Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 739. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 739. Clerk will read the bill.
SB 739.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 739. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 739 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Ms. Rose to explain Senate Bill 867.
Opioid
Members, you've
antagonist
heard the
program.
explanation of Senate Bill 867. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 867. The clerk will read the bill.
SB
Question
867.
occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 867. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 867 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. King of Uvalde to explain Senate Bill 893.
Correction certificate of
Members,
public
you've heard the
convenience, necessity,
explanation
and
of Senate
respect.
Bill 893. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 893. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 893.
The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 893. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 893 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Hefner to explain Senate Bill 904.
Unauthorized parking.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 904. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 904. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 904.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 904. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 904 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Holland to explain Senate Bill 983.
Broadband
Members,
service.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 983. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 983. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 983.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 983. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 983 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Harris. Ms. Harris, excuse me. Chair recognizes Ms. Harris to explain Senate Bill 1051.
Healthcare.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1051. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1051. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1051.
Question occurs on passage to engrossment of passage third reading of Senate Bill 1051. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1051 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Turner to explain Senate Bill 1122.
Designated documents.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1122. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1122. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1122. Vice Chair.
The following committee amendment, the following local and consent. Excuse me. The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1122. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1122 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Murr to explain Senate Bill 1236.
Weapons on navigable
Members,
streams.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1236. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1236. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1236.
The following local and consent approved floor amendment. The clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment by Murr.
The chair recognizes Mr. Murr to explain the amendment.
Taking of an alligator.
The question occurs on passage to third reading. Is there any objection to adoption of the amendment? The chair hears none. The amendment is adopted. The question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 1236 as amended. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1236 as amended is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Paul to explain Senate Bill 1393.
Fair plan.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1393. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 1393. The clerk will read the bill.
SB
Question
1393.
occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1393. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1393 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Hefner to explain Senate Bill 1439.
Taxation of tangible
Members, you've heard the
personal property.
explanation of Senate Bill 1439. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1439. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1439.
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1439. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1439 is passed to third reading. Members, the chair has received 5 objections to the next bill. Ms. Wilson, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Bumgarner, Ms. Isaac, and Mr. Toth. The bill is withdrawn from the calendar. The chair recognizes Mr. Price to explain Senate Bill 1467.
Medical test
Members,
results.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1467. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 1467. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1467 by Hancock.
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1467. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 1467 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Frazier to explain Senate Bill 1551.
Failure to ID.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1551. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 1551. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1551.
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1551. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 1551 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Price to explain Senate Bill 1614.
Franchise tax.
Members, you've heard the
consistency.
explanation of Senate Bill 1614. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 1614. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1614.
Members, you've heard that, the question occurs on passage and engrossment of Senate Bill 1614. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1614 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Cook to explain Senate Bill 1653.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1653. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1653. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1653.
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 1653. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1653 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Burris to explain Senate Bill 1710.
USF.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 1710. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 1710. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 1710.
Question occurs on passage and engrossment of Senate Bill 1710. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 1710 is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Mr. Price to explain Senate Bill 2017.
Hearing aid alignment.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 2017. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 2017. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2017 by Zafarian.
Question occurs on passage to third reading of Senate Bill 2017. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 2017 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Sherman to explain Senate Bill 2091.
Counties.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 2091. Is there objection to consideration? Chair hears none. Chair lays out Senate Bill 2091. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2091 by West.
The following local and consent approved floor amendment. The clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment by Sherman.
Chair recognizes Mr. Sherman to explain the amendment.
Governor.
Members, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. Is there any objection to adoption of the amendment? Chair hears none. The amendment is adopted. The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 2091 is adopted. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 2091 is, as amended, is passed to third reading. Chair recognizes Ms. Johnson of Dallas to explain Senate Bill 2106.
Judicial Certification
Members,
Commission.
you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 2106. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 2106. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2106 by
The
Zafarian.
question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 2106. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 2106 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Hunter to explain Senate Bill 2119.
Broadband.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 2119. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 2119. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2119 by
The question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 2119. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 2119 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Clardy to explain Senate Bill 2150.
General Cotton Whitten.
Members, you've heard the explanation of Senate Bill 2150. Is there objection to consideration? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 2150. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2150.
Question occurs on passage third reading of Senate Bill 2150. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate Bill 2150 is passed to third reading. The chair recognizes Mr. Shine to explain Senate Bill 2269.
Self-insurance
Members,
group.
you've
Move
heard the
passage.
explanation of Senate Bill 2269. Is there objection? The chair hears none. The chair lays out Senate Bill 2269. The clerk will read the bill.
SB 2269.